Well, I started questioning myself.
So I see this amendment. I'm just gonna speak for myself. As I've said earlier, when I look at what other committees do, I ask myself, is the spirit and guts of what we've done in live or not? And I think the answer for this is clearly yes. What I'm seeing is, it sort of goes, but if you're thinking, well, who, as a landlord, does this help me? Or as a tenant, does this help me? It sort of goes both ways. It gives a little more time, although more time on the end, in the sense of 90 days rather than 60 to set a hearing. But it starts a little earlier with the filing of the case. At the same time, it's just takes the whole confidentiality thing out for the moment. You know, it's just gone. So there's no confidentiality protection for the moment. And I think those are really, and everything else to me is kind of technical. In other words, it substitutes one show cause, it substitutes one process for another to deal with the dangerous tenant. But what matters is that there's something, because that's what we keep hearing. This is a real problem and we've got to do something about it. It does contain, I think, a tweak, which is nice in that it makes sure this has got to be a serious situation. It can't just be an event and one-time thing. But otherwise, I personally feel fine with this, and I'm just wondering, how do other people feel? Yes.
Again, I just want to reiterate for everyone, for the chair of judiciary, for you and the ranking member for just your work on this, and I'm good with it.
Debbie?
For the writ of possession.
Yeah.
Because in current law, if you're going for non-payment of rent, I thought the writ of possession was like 7 days. It was
For non-payment of rent, it's 7 days.
7 days,
Yeah.
so they're not addressing that in this.
That doesn't change. No.
It's for rent into court. And
Yeah, rent into the escrow. Yeah,
refuses to pay rent into court, so
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with non-payment.
right.
Okay, yes, you're right.
Okay.
I don't need to say.
Yeah.
So where are people?
Yeah.
So I think that the amendment balances out the bill a lot better than before. So I would vote yes.
Thomas?
Oh, yes.
Debbie, how do you feel?
It sounds like it's the best that we can do under civil procedure. Is that what it's called?
That's very politely said,
That
Debbie.
is a good way to put it.
How about you?
I was waiting for her to speak and then I was gonna make find it favorable
Yeah, well, this is all,
for the
A
straw
straw poll
poll,
to
but
make
I
it
was
find it
gonna
favorable.
say, I'd like to find the straw, but I was waiting if anyone else had. Anyone online or Elizabeth has her hand up.
hey, Elizabeth.
Hi, I wonder, are we on live right now?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm in favor of this amendment. Thanks.
All right. So at this point, what I'm gonna do though is hold it open. We
Yeah,
can do that, so that way I can see if I can get Saudia and Joe. To
Mary.
and
Laura.
Mary and
Leonora.
Leonora, if we get a chance. And in other words, this is an informal process. It doesn't have the
Right.
same formality to it. It's an informal process. So we're trying to get a sense of the committee. So for the moment, I'm gonna hold it open, but
yeah.
it's okay.
Well, I move to find this amendment favorable on a straw poll vote. I don't know if that's.
We got it. That's a right move. And I'm gonna
Wow.
count 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, let's
5,
raise our
6.
hand, just, okay.
Yeah, okay.
7.
7. So is it 7?
And then Elizabeth.
Yeah, 8.
That's 7.
Yeah.
7.
Great.
Okay. All right, so that's 7, 0, and then we'll see
We'll
how
see
many
We
we
have
get.
4 out right now,
Yeah, okay,
but that's good.
okay. All
Okay,
right.
thank you,
Thank you
Chair.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cameron.
Well, thank you, Cameron.
Now we switch topic. Thanks, everyone,
Thank you.
for the housing stuff. Cameron, you get to leave us.
Well.
For now.
Count your chickens, yeah, because Probe still hasn't voted it out.
Yeah, you know,
Oh, yeah.
oh, well, The details,
Details.
Did he say something about chicken?
Yes,
Anyway,
yes, he did.
that's not a positive thing.
all right, so, now let's go back
Here.
Did
to,
anybody notice the weather out there?
Yeah, I'd like to get home.
It's absolutely snowing.
Yeah, I
We're
know.
supposed to get like 5 inches here
some places,
tonight.
yeah, really.
It's not, it's a wintry mix, they call it. What did you need to get through? For me? Oh, wow.
All right, so our next item, everyone, is we're coming back to
The honor.
We're coming back to S-230. And it's a little, this needs a little explanation to set the tone for everyone. So S-230 has in it 3, as I remember, Sophie, is that right? It has 3 major elements. One of the things that we're doing is asking ourselves whether we, in addition to whatever we do, each of those
Bless you.
3 elements, whether we want to add things into this bill. One of the things, for example, that we've considered is whether we want to tackle extreme temperature as part of this bill. And I want to say, for both the members of the committee and for the public, just the fact that we inquire about it doesn't mean we're going to do it. And in fact, we want to avoid Christmas treeing this project with too many ornaments. So,
And it goes, oh.
yeah, and then it falls. But now, Sophie, am I right that in this round, are you talking about any of the original 3 elements, or are you talking about what the draft that you created concerning the new revised version of extreme temperature?
So Sophie Zagani for the Office of Legislative Counsel. I had 3 things. So one was I have a strike all amendment based on when I was in here last, which adds the report from the Department of Labor. So I have that.
I'm sorry, what reports?
The report from the Department of Labor on the lodging allowance.
Right.
So
okay.
that's a new section.
New
3A,
version,
So that's a new.
Which, by the way, was a new piece for 230. Okay.
Right, so the original S-230 had 3 pieces, now it has a 4th piece in the current draft.
Right.
And then I was asked about adding flexible work arrangements and extreme temperature.
Okay. So again, by asking our counsel to draft something and for us taking testimony on it does not mean that we're going to do it. It means we're looking into it. All right? Okay, Sophie, take it away.
So what would you like me to do? Do you want me to go through the draft that I prepared, the draft update, the strike all amendment?
Sure, I think that's a way of walking us through everything.
So this is based on the last time we discussed S-230. So no change to the first section. The second section has a change, which I just highlighted under self-attestation. It removes that extra language.
I don't see
That
it.
was in addition to, so you already passed section 2 in Bill 887. So this is now consistent with what you already passed in 887. And then this adds in that new section 3A,
And then it's held open.
which is requiring the report prepared by the Commissioner of Labor in consultation with the Secretary of Agriculture. And then it adds in the Secretary of Commerce and Community Development. And then it also adds in that the report will come to the House Committee on Agriculture, this committee, and also to House Commerce and Economic Development. And then it didn't change, but it would go to the Senate Committees on Agriculture and Economic Development. And then there was a small change on this. So the report shall address, it removed the legislative recommendations. And under subdivision 2, it adds whether the current methodology for calculating lodging rates should be updated and the starting lodging rate to be adjusted. So in other words, they may change the formula, but if you're starting at a very low place, that may not ultimately result in a more accurate method. So that was added in. So that was the change. So this is the current version 1.1 of a strike-all amendment for the committee. So any other changes would be joined into this.
So that's the base version. That's our base version of 230. You know what I mean, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, this is before we start adding ornaments. Okay,
Right, and we did also just change the, we put the 887 language to get rid of the perjury part too.
yes, that's.
Yeah, so that
Oh,
was-
sorry.
You were on the phone.
You told her to be on the phone.
That's true, she
So
heard
what?
it. Sorry, thank you.
So maybe the next one that would be the quickest to do would be to talk about the flexible work arrangements.
Yes,
Okay. So this is your current bill that you have on the wall, H726. And this is the same language that was originally in S230 when it started in Senate Economic Development. This is a small change, but a significant change. So under current law, Vermont allows employees to request flexible work arrangements from their employers, and they can ask a couple of times a year. And essentially what the current law does is it protects employees who request a flexible work schedule from being retaliated against by their employer. But it is a flexible statute here. So right now, this is the current language, is the employer shall consider the employee's request for a flexible work arrangement and whether the request could be granted in a manner that's not inconsistent with its business operations. And then it goes on and defines inconsistent with business operations. What this bill is proposing to do is to shift the balance there. So instead of the employer making the decision as to whether or not they want to grant the flexible work arrangement, it essentially requires the employer to grant the request unless it's inconsistent with their business operations.
Which is still the employer determination. They would just have to defend it.
Yes,
It would be it kind of shifts the burden.
yes.
I want to say to the committee, it's hard to know how great a change this is. And this is one of the things we have to take testimony on. So we couldn't just do it. In my view, we'll have to hear from representatives, not only of unions, but also employers if we do this.
Was this something that you suggested? or-
I don't even remember where it came from. It was on our wall.
No, I didn't
It was on our wall and we heard it. And I thought there was sort of an interest in it. So
No,
I might have put that on it. We can take it out. Okay,
It's not in yet. I was just running through.
Yeah, I only knew about the.
Okay, all right.
All right, and then the last one,
so are you going to extreme temperature?
yes.
Okay, so I want to be transparent as to what has happened here. All right? But polite. Let's see if I can do that. We were interested in the issue of extreme temperature. We were, shall I say, we were seduced into interest by just the fact that who wouldn't
Put
want,
else in your pocket?
how would, oh my God, how would, it is really Friday. Because who wouldn't want workers to be safe from extreme temperatures? So we asked Sophie, using the federal model, to give us something, and she gave us a very complete bill, which caused the committee to feel like we thought we were interested, but this is too much. We can't do this. And the two problems were the temperatures seemed to be the kind of what was considered too hot and too cold, particularly, didn't match our experience in Vermont.
Mhm.
And the second was the amount of paperwork involved in terms of generating reports, plans, et cetera, was inconsistent with the reality that the great majority of the employers in Vermont are very small. We're not dealing with huge employers. So I have had, I was approached by various representatives of labor over time in the last months. And I simply reported on the reaction of the committee and said, I think if this even has a chance of moving, it has to be much simpler with temperatures that are appropriate. Recently, I was given a draft by a representative of one of the unions of a possibility. And so what I did was, and without arguing that goes far enough or is right, I simply gave it to council to just put out there as a draft that is there. So we have something. And in fact, I think to go any further, we would have to take substantial testimony and find out what's going on out there in the real world and make sure that we are not over-regulating, under-regulating, et cetera. So Sophie's about to present that, but you should understand what that draft is and isn't. It's just a start. Sophie.
I just wanted to just do a quick bit of background here. So Vermont operates what's called an OSHA approved state plan. So OSHA is the Occupational Safety and Health Act, and at the federal level. And then since the early 1970s, Vermont has a plan that's approved by OSHA. And what essentially that means is that Vermont will apply any of the federal OSHA standards. They will be a floor. So Vermont can go above those in terms of protection, but they are subject to OSHA. They can't pick and choose what they want to do from OSHA. They have to be at least as effective as the OSHA provisions. And then VOSHA, so the Vermont Occupational Safety and Health, covers private sector workers, state government workers, and local government workers here in Vermont. They do not cover federal government workers, such as postal workers. They don't cover family members, immediate family members of a farm employer. They don't cover farms with 10 or fewer non-family members, and they don't cover self-employed individuals.
Could you go back over the first part of that? What don't they cover again?
What they don't cover?
Yeah.
So VOSHA does not cover federal government workers, including the Postal Service. They don't cover immediate family members of farm employers.
Can I interrupt super quick? Federal, no, but OSHA,
Right,
okay.
yes. They don't cover farms with 10 or fewer non-family members. So if they've got 10 non-family members working for them. And they don't cover self-employed individuals. They also don't cover things like mining and nuclear, things that are very heavily regulated at the federal level in this area of Vermont. So
Does self-employed mean,
the individual,
so the individual is supposing that somebody says that we're gonna just hire you as a consultant, then they're not covered.
right?
Like 1099.
Yeah,
If you're self-employed, but if that self-employed person hires someone else, then
Yeah,
yes,
sure,
then-
yeah.
So again, I think just to reiterate what the chair said, so we had a very long bill, I think it was 8 pages, that was really based on what had been proposed by the Biden administration for extreme heat temperatures. There was, so it essentially took that and then working with NIOSH, which is the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, they had some guidance regarding cold temperatures. So that was the draft bill that you had looked at, that we went through last session. So what I'm going to show you now is the revised version, which essentially takes that bill, but really cuts it down. So again, there may be things that need to be worked out on it, but it essentially is the same language from before, but with a lot of deletions in it. And it also includes, it has a couple of there was another proposal, and I have that in here as well.
just in time.
So again, this is all pretty familiar. It's just going to be a lot shorter. So again, the title, this would be creating a new subchapter under Title 21, under Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the safety provisions that we have in Vermont statute. The same purpose as before. So just a reiteration of the same things. This streamlines the number of definitions. One change from the draft that I was given was This retains the definitions of employee and employer. These are the definitions that are already in state statute under the VOSHA provisions, but I think it's easier if people see them rather than just a reference sometimes. Extreme temperature means temperatures at or above 80 degrees Fahrenheit as measured by a wet bulb globe thermometer or below 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Wet bulb globe thermometer does a good job of measuring on the heat end, less so on the cold end, so that's why it's separated that way. It retains the definitions of indoors and outdoors and defines the wet bulb globe temperature. And then again, application, this is just the same language, but just really pared down. There's a lot of information that's not included in this. So the application, it would apply to all employers, employees in employment, in or out of workplace.
Am I right? I just want to, again, members of the committee, I'm just throwing out ideas for consideration. I'm not advocating. If we wanted to make this only apply to larger employers, we'd put it there, right?
Yes, I mean, yes, this does not contain any language.
We
that
could say it
restricts.
only applies to employers with more than 50 employees or whatever, if we wanted to.
Yeah, I just, the only piece I would have is that the VOSHA rules do apply to all regardless of size.
We'd have to be careful there, yeah, right,
Right.
okay.
And again, I can touch on this in a minute, but there is right now, we had talked last year that the Biden administration's proposed rules, which the original bill was based on, was pulled back by the Trump administration. But there is something called a National Emphasis Program on outdoor and indoor heat-related hazards that is currently in effect. It's in effect until April 8th of 2026. So essentially, OSHA is really focusing on heat right now. They've conducted way more in-person inspections, etc. So I just flag that because if you could be a small employer in Vermont, you would still be covered by that national emphasis program right now that's being administered at the federal level. So just as a flag. All right, so this just goes through the application. 80 degrees, 35 degrees, are the limits on either end.
Sophie, can I ask where 35 degrees came from?
This was what I was asked to prepare. This came from.
Would love to understand where 35 degrees came from.
Well, tell us your name for the record and how. Sorry, but we're not formal here.
JP Isabel, Executive Director of Vermont AFL-CIO. This came from the Teamsters, the original bill came from the Teamsters. I was working with them on it as a labor representative. And I worked with the chair and others, and I was told that 40 was not workable. So I went to 35.
But if the committee wants to know, could it be 30? Yes. Could it be 0? It's up to the committee.
Yes, and what I would say is that there was, the reason that this draft was so late in coming is that there was consternation around dropping
Right,
that temperature.
right, okay,
And so this was my attempt at a compromise.
right.
Thank you.
Well, that's good. It's always good to attempt compromise. All right.
All right. So this retains the extreme temperature prevention plan. So employers must display a wet bulb globe thermometer at each indoor and outdoor work site, including, well, that doesn't make sense. Anyway.
Oh, we can fix that.
I may have over deleted. Well, I tried to. So there was a lot of deletion, so let's have a look. I just want to make sure, see what was in here. Oh, it should be work vehicles. So that's the missing word, work vehicles. Employers must develop a written extreme temperature injury and illness prevention plan with work-specific information. The plan must include information about the factors that can increase the likelihood of injury or illness, policies and procedures to comply. Now, this says all policies and procedures necessary to comply with the requirements of this subchapter, but those requirements aren't in here any longer. So again, that language that probably needs tweaking. Information on education and training and emergency procedures and contact information.
I have a question about that. Every time I go into a workplace or I've managed one, there's some closet door somewhere where people have stuck on the door all these notices. Is this just one more notice that gets stuck on the closet door?
If you can bear with me 1 second, I will.
It's a start, because people should know about it.
Yeah, they should know about it, but I guess that's part one of my question, and part two of my question perhaps is, doesn't VOSHA or somebody publish that kind of stuff? I mean, would an employer who's got 3 employees have to reinvent the wheel?
Just hold on 1 second, I'm pulling it up right now.
And do they come and inspect every 2 or 3 years or anything like that?
This is Vermont, of course not.
Oh.
Fine.
So this is the current mandatory poster, the VOSHA one, so. So you have the right to request a VOSHA inspection. So again, it's very complaint driven here in Vermont. So if you have concerns, you can request. You can file a complaint again if you're discriminated against. So anyway, this is the current poster. And they do have, there are available posters as well, resources available regarding heat as well are available on the VOSHA website.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Wet bulbs,
Yeah. I was wondering.
so they can be upwards of $3,000.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm sorry, but
That's really important to know.
That is-
Is that true?
I did look that up last year when we were looking at this, and I think there,
if you have like a data driven, like it's gonna hold information. And I personally think if we're gonna do this and I'm an employer and I have to have them in every place. And, you know, someone can come and audit and I would want it holding all the data it can to save my butt. It's just another, you know, that I have concerns about the fact that it's a wet bulb and how many places. I just didn't know if we had any specifications on the quality of wet bulbs.
Right. Meters typically range from $15 to over $300, depending on accuracy. Well, that's something to explore,
yeah,
because we're not going to create a situation. Well, I'm speaking for myself. We're not going to create a bill that requires 1 or 2 people or 3 people, employers, to spend $300 on a thermometer.
well, again, it's missing the word vehicle on the end here. But
Yeah,
this would
yeah,
also
I was
include
thinking that,
working
yeah.
vehicle, right, so.
Can I ask another question that's related to this? Say I don't have a work vehicle, I use my own vehicle and get the IRS reimbursement for miles. And I have a hunk of junk. With this language, is that gonna cover my vehicle?
I would have to go back and look at that. I did look at it last time and I just don't remember. I mean, there was so much information. I don't remember it all in terms of, but generally a work vehicle, I think the goal here would be, you know, if you're driving a truck, you're driving something for work, right? I mean, if you're a delivery carrier, for example. So I think it's thinking more that rather than the personal vehicles. Like if you're being provided by a vehicle, but I would want, I mean, that would be something to check.
Yeah, cause I know my postal worker uses their own vehicle.
Nothing better.
I think it's a good example of, you know, we have people who are going on the job for contractors for building and they're small, sorry.
Yeah.
I have lots of feelings about this bill.
All right, and then
Don't give up.
Oh, I won't, trust
We gotta
me.
fix them up, fix them. up.
So this bill does not include anything specifically on cold. It does have the heat injury and illness prevention, so section 240T. So then this would apply if the wet bulb globe temperature exceeds 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So the employer must provide an effective means of communication so that employees can contact a supervisor when necessary to address concerns about heat. They must be provided
Wait a second, we got a question. Debbie?
Well, I want to just briefly go back to who, you said it does not cover. What about the flaggers? Are they covered under this?
First of all, one of the things we'd have to, this is up to us. In other words, one of the things that isn't in here is excluded. We can exclude professions if we want to, if it just doesn't work, right?
Well, I just feel like they're standing on high.
I know.
I mean, I don't know how they do it.
You can exclude all building trades.
I mean, they might have little
There's-
fans in their suit like the
Yeah,
guys or. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, so this is talking about heat injury, illness and prevention, so means of communication with the supervisor, public access to potable water, it's readily accessible, an area where employees can take a break in sufficient numbers based on the conditions, and the employers must provide work vehicles with functioning air conditioning and heating that control for temperature. So that's it. So that's a much more pared down version. There was one other set of language that was provided that I believe is coming more from the concerns from the ski industry. And this would be a change to a different part of this, the statute. And this right now, we currently have language that provides an employer shall provide an employee with reasonable opportunities during work periods to eat and to use toilet facilities. And this would just add in and to warm up in heated spaces when working outdoors in cold temperatures to protect the health and hygiene of the employee. And that was some proposed language that also was provided.
okay, so there's a base piece to work on. And I'm just to kind of bring us all onto the same page. One option for us is forget it. Another option for us is to forget it and work on it next year. Another option for us is to refine it, change it. And change the potential changes are further simplification, changing temperatures, omitting, making it only apply to certain employers of a certain size or certain professions. Those are our issues. And we have arranged for the beginning of testimony next week from people who would be subject to this to try to tell us more about what do they do. In other words, what is a good practice? It seems to me that if we were going to do this, what we want to do is look at the people who are doing the right thing and ask ourselves whether we can craft this such it reflects that kind of activity so that people who are doing the right thing don't have to do anything more. And it's just the people who are the bad actors who are caught in the deal. Question is, can we do that? Is it worth it? And I don't know yet, but I'm saying to the committee, I think I'm going to subject you to a little more testimony before we make up our mind whether to go ahead or forget it. Any questions of Sophie? Well, at this point, Miriam, at this point are we scheduled to start on Tuesday? 1 p.m. after the floor. Okay, so Tuesday, the floor is at 10. And then you'll start at 1. And at this point, anything else people want to say before we go offline?